All right, so I'm gonna go through my Power Slap 9 matchups, my mock-ups for my card that I made, and break them down and say why I think the fight should be made and why I think it'd be a good fight. So my main event would be Damian DeBell versus Dorian Perez. So the heavyweight rankings as they sit now, obviously DeBell is the champ. At number 1, Ryan Phillips. 2, Dwayne Crespo. 3, Nate Bernard. 4, Dorian Perez. Number 5, Brian Ellis. So Dwayne Crespo just fought on Power Slap 8, but he moved up to super heavyweight. So I don't even know what they're going to do with him in the rankings at heavyweight. If you heard my reaction about that fight, I don't think he should have moved up. I think it was a mistake, but for more reasons than one. First, like, because that's a different video. I'll say that. But anyway, he moved up. So number 2, we're not really looking at Dwayne Crespo for a title shot at heavyweight. At number 1, you have Ryan Phillips, but him and DeBell just fought at Power Slap 7, and DeBell knocked him out. So I don't see any reason why he would get a rematch, really. At number 3, Nate Bernard. He also relatively recently fought DeBell at Power Slap 5, and he got knocked out as well. So immediately, 1, 2, and 3, you can really eliminate from the equation. And then at number 4, Dorian, before I even have to justify it, that's already justifying it right there. He's the first name that you go to. And then the only other person really would be number 5, Brian Ellis, behind him, that you could really give it to. So this one, it's a little tricky because Perez actually lost to Ellis, but he lost because of DQs for fouls. So it's the most lame win ever. Ellis is 2-2 in Power Slap, including that DQ win. And Dorian Perez is 5-1, I believe. Let's see. 5-1. And the 1 is the DQ loss to fouls. So, in my mind, he's pretty much undefeated still. So it's really, plus, so, I don't want to get ahead of myself. So just there, talking through that, the only other thing you can do is really be you give it to Brian Ellis because he beat Perez. Okay. By disqualification, So, and then whose record is more impressive after that? The 2-2, including the DQ, or a 5-1 with a DQ loss? So that's where I sit there. And then second of all, this would just be a banger. Perez, there's no one that I would see beating DeBell, but if I was gonna picture somebody or try to, it would be Perez. Huge hitter, huge crazy chin. Don't think he's the biggest heavyweight. Let me see. Oh no, yeah, he's 265. Never mind. For something that's a little heavier than for some reason I thought he was, but yeah, huge hitter, can take a shot like no other. He's fought. His strength of schedule is crazy. So that in my mind is just a crazy main event, and I would say the top 4, honestly, almost every fight on my mock-up card could be a main event. So it's at that point you're just putting the heaviest on top. All these fights are so good that I'm not even trying to say that this one would be the best one. I'm just starting at the top and going because generally they tend to give it to the big boys up top. So yeah, that's my my main event, heavyweight clash. Let me know what you think about that one. So in the co-main event, we got Wolverine versus Vernon Cathy. So Wolverine, obviously the champion, not only would this be a fresh matchup, but it's also like they were both on the first season, the reality show. Like they've been there since the beginning, obviously. Wolverine was the coach, and Vernon was on, I think he was even on his team. But it's ironic because like Vernon's actually older than him. Not by like a ton, I don't think, but so it's just like kind of like the student and the teacher. It's like there's like this weird like cool intrigue to it there. But also I just think it'd be obviously a great fight. The light heavyweight rankings right now, they're not updated, but they had Turpin at number 1, Rivero at number 2, and Kathy at number 3 coming into Power Slap 8. Turpin at Power Slap 8 lost. Rivero last. I don't want to get ahead of myself. So Turpin lost to Kathy. For those who didn't know, I'm sure you all knew. But Rivero last fought at Power Slap 7. And he knocked out, who did he knock out? Cody Belial. So coming off a knockout win for Rivero, but overall, like Vernon is coming off 3 wins and like 3 like crazy wins. Like there's a big difference between, coming off like 1 knockout win versus 3. I'm not exactly sure when the last time Rivero fought before that. Rivero's like, it's crazy because like appearance-wise, he's one of the scariest people in Power Slap, in my opinion. Like, he's just frightening. Like, when you look at him, like, the guy looks like an animal, and he's a good slap fighter. But his record doesn't necessarily show it. I think he's 3-3, so he's like 500. Like, and you look at him and you're like, how is that guy 500? It's like there's some DQs and shit involved in that. So like he's still a beast, but his record's a little misleading. But anyway, so it would really be between Kathy and Rivero, and I just don't see any other way but to give it to Vern. I think that would be a banger. I think that Vern wins that fight. And the reason being is because Wolverine is probably, this might be a bold statement, but I think he might be the most accurate slap fighter in history. He's just like, when you want to talk about no fouls and shit, like, especially on the offensive end, this guy is it. Like, clean strikes, a pioneer of the sport, like, fouling is the worst way, or the worst thing to do in Power Slap, because it, like, gives the sport a bad name, too. Like, a bad rap. And, like, so he's the complete opposite of that. And he has crazy power, but, he's getting a little up there in age, and, like, I think that he looked a little more human against Turpin than, like, you're used to, and, like, you've seen, like, against big hitters like Turpin or DeBell, like, you can stumble him, and Vern is one of the biggest hitters we've ever seen. So with how accurate he is, and like Vern can take a shot. Where I get like nervous with Vern with his chin is only on like a foul that's not called. Like people question Vern's chin all the time, which I don't understand coming off the last 2 performances. Like, if there were to be like a club that like they got away with, like I would worry about that. I don't know if he's necessarily taken clubs from light heavyweights and staying conscious, but for clean strikes, I think that he can take 1, 2, maybe 3 of Wolverine's, with how clean they are, despite them being powerful. So I think that works in his favor, and I just think that he has the touch of the farm boy. So I think he wins that fight. I think it's a great fight. I think it's like one I think it would definitely be some action. Maybe if I had to guess off the top of my head, I'd say like 3rd round KO, something like that for Vern. But that would be my co-main event. That could be a main event easily, dude. Like easily. But on this dream one, I guess it would be the co-main.